Alright, real talk. Most people won't bother coming here. It's a bit of a mission to get here, the Wi-Fi is too weak, and the beds aren't exactly 5-star.
Here it is.
But if you're looking for something real, like a little rough around the edges, a little more raw, then these islands, they've got you. This is Koh Rong and Koh Rong Sanloem. Some call them the Maldives of Cambodia, but to us, this was more like a backpacker's paradise. But honestly, just getting here, that's where the adventure really begins. It starts with a couple of backpacks, a train, and a whole lot of unknown. And if Koh Rong is on your travel list, be sure to stick around because we're going to be sharing a few tips that you'll need to know for your visit.
First leg of the journey, Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville. We hopped on the train expecting a smooth ride through the Cambodian countryside, and for a while it was exactly that. But then the AC died, just gone. And the windows, they don't open. So we're basically inside a giant metal oven on wheels, slowly roasting alongside a train car full of equally sweaty strangers. A couple hours later, we rode into Sihanoukville in one piece, albeit a little sweatier and slightly dehydrated. Sihanoukville didn't feel like a place we wanted to linger in either. Construction everywhere, with half-finished high-rises and cranes swinging overhead. We booked a grab and made a beeline straight for the ferry port.
So we had to take it was supposed to be a 5-hour, 40-minute train ride from Phnom Penh to this area that we're in now. It was late and slow, and so it took over 7 hours. And now we are at the speed ferry station to catch a speed ferry over to Koh Rong. I would highly recommend booking everything in advance because there are a lot of crowds and there are a lot of salesmen trying to push you in all different directions. So you should have a clear plan of what you want to do and where you want to go. And if you can, definitely book in advance just so it's all taken care of.
All right, well, it's been a long travel day. We are almost done. Just got one more ferry to get on to get to Koh Rong, and then find our way to our hotel, which will probably take a tuk-tuk or something like that, but almost done.
Blue shop at the at Longset Beach, stop number 1.
Stop number 1, thank you. The thing about these ferries, if you get seasick, buckle up, because we're flying over some serious swells. Think ocean roller coaster with no seatbelt. Meanwhile, Sarah's out cold as I shamelessly film her. Who could possibly sleep through something like this? Oh. So to recap, the train was late, the AC broke, and we slowly baked alive. The boat ride over was a bumpy mess of borderline seasickness, and 8 hours later we arrived in Koh Rong. And you know what? We'd do it all again, because when you finally step off the boat and see this, it makes a rough travel day feel worth it. Sometimes, paradise makes you earn it.
We've officially made it to Koh Rong. It's 4:30 and I haven't eaten yet today, so we are headed to our accommodation. I'm not gonna call it a hotel because that would not be accurate, I don't think. I think we're close.
The Dream Resort. Sounds nice. Look at this sign. So beautiful, so welcoming. Yeah, we're not staying here. This is where we're staying. Just a shack right on the beach.
Here it is.
Who needs a fancy place when your front yard is literally the ocean?
This costs $23.76 a night, so it's on the top end of our budget. But I can see the beach. It's like 30 yards away. There's like 3 bars on the property essentially. So, yeah.
I have changed into more fitting beach attire. Now let's go find some food. About 20 feet from our shack was Ocean Blue Bar. It seemed like a pretty popular spot, so we stopped in. And on the menu, pizza and beer.
It's a little rough to get here, but this is not a bad way to start out our time on Koh Rong.
No fancy dinner for us on this first night, just regular old, delicious za. Need something greasy and heavy for me because we have not eaten anything all day besides like a handful of chips. And I know what you're thinking. Pizza? Really? It's a tropical island in Cambodia and your first meal is pizza? Well, guess what? The pizza was delicious. Turns out the chef moved here and established a bar right from Italy. I mean, just look at this cheese. So yeah, it's like that.
if it's really good or if it's just the first thing I've eaten and it's 5:30 today.
And I was joking about ordering. Did you get it? Good. Like I was saying, I was joking about ordering pizza.
And then Sarah breaks her chair.
Sarah breaks her chair. I was joking about ordering pizza, but this might be some of the best pizza we've had so far in Southeast Asia. Maybe we should make this last one too. Well, didn't manage to get much sleep last night, but still managed to get up here for the sunrise, and it is quite nice. I think Sarah's gonna be a little upset I didn't wake her up tomorrow, but man, it's pretty peaceful. I guess most of the people are hungover from last night, so the beach is really quiet.
It is our first morning on Koh Rong. We just wandered down the little boardwalk until we found this pier with some breakfast. It's a little rainy this morning, which is not a bad thing because this place is still beautiful. We're sitting right by the water. It's very clear. I have not seen the water yet.
Anyways, breakfast. We grabbed a couple coffees to bring us back to life. Tony went classic, ham, eggs, and toast. And I, on the other hand, found something I've been dreaming about since we left Thailand. A ham and cheese toastie.
First toastie in 2 months.
Straight from 7-Eleven.
Not exactly the height of culinary adventure, but sometimes you just want comfort food, something familiar.
Better or worse?
Worse. 7-Eleven's better.
So we booked a boat tour that's going to take us around the island. It should include like fishing, snorkeling, barbecue, and then seeing the plankton at night. It runs from 1 to 8 p.m. and it cost us $30, $30 US, which feels like all the prices around here are pretty standard. So once you get to the island, you can just go to any of the stands that have boat tours. They'll give you a ticket, charge you $30, and then you meet 15 for one ticket, and then you meet at the pier to hop on the boat. So now, we're just waiting for the rest of the guests to arrive before the boat can take off. And in the meantime, we're passing a few minutes the best way we know how, by meeting some of the local characters.
You're doing so good. Good job.
There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of that ship was the Billy O.T. The winds blew harder, bowed it down, blow me, bully boys, blow. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tagging is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her right whaleboat. The captain called all hands and swore he would take that whale and go.
Our boat pulled into this little secluded island, and the crew basically tossed us off and said, go snorkel. So we did, and for an hour or so we floated around, admiring fish we couldn't name, and some of us trying to breathe through the snorkels without inhaling half the ocean. Eventually, we all agreed that we were sufficiently pruny, and we climbed back in the boat.
We drifted off from our first stop with beers and fresh fruit handed out by the crew, and way too much confidence in our fishing skills. Caught nothing, by the way. And eventually we anchored near Koh Rong for some beach time.
If there's one thing you take away from our videos, it's that we're always goofy, even when we try to be romantic. Which in this case meant attempting a cute ocean moment while at the same time getting slapped around by the waves like we owed it money. that's a big wave. Back on the boat, they handed us some box dinners, nothing fancy, but we kicked back and watched the sunset. Ready for some whiskey?
Never ready for whiskey. Well, that's why sometimes I am.
Once the sun dipped below the horizon, this little boat tour of ours turned into a rave. Somewhere in there we jumped in the water for the bioluminescence sighting, but it was too dark to catch it on camera. Tomorrow we're switching gears and driving around the island for our own little beach and food tour.
It is our second full day in Koh Rong, and today we actually rented a motorbike. It was $10 US for the whole day, which seems to be pretty standard, I think, on Koh Rong. If you can ride a motorbike, highly recommend doing this because we are able to travel to some beaches that have a lot less people, and you're able to beat all the tours as well. So we're actually at a beach that we went to on our boat tour, but the boat tours haven't arrived yet. So we pretty much have the whole thing to ourselves. I will say the unfortunate thing about beaches here, maybe all of Cambodia, but especially on Koh Rong, is that there's quite a fair amount of litter and trash on the beaches. I think a lot of it was in the water and kind of gets swept up to shore, so I don't know if it was necessarily left here. So that is a bummer, but I don't think it can take away from that. But the other thing to note that you already saw is the roads here are sometimes roads and sometimes not so much classified as a road, I would say. So make sure you're a confident driver.
Keeping the beach hopping going, we cut straight across the middle of the island to check out some new beaches on the other side. But along the way, we had to make a pit stop.
Well, we were just driving along and we came across a sign that said restaurant and bar, and that is enough information for me, so that's where we're headed.
To get to the restaurant, you need to follow a path past a neighborhood of bungalows that reminds me of the Dharma village from the TV show Lost. It's definitely more mellow over on this side of the island, probably a step up in price, but if you're looking just to zone out and recharge, it might be worth the extra couple of bucks. But here at the restaurant, we got a couple of chicken club sandwiches for about 15 bucks before getting back on the road. So we set off for one last beach, but of course it had to be the most remote, hardest to reach spot of them all, because apparently we love working for those somewhat secret places. Properly named Lonely Beach.
So we're gonna make a quick stop, or a detour if you will, to Lonely Beach. This ride is not for the faint of heart. It was incredibly difficult to get here. We almost lost control of the bike. Sarah almost fell off. But there's a sand pit in the middle, and when you're driving through it, there's absolutely no way around it, and then there's all these rocks you have to go over. It's taxing. Excuse me, Mother Teresa, what'd you think of the drive?
Bouncy.
The whole path down is basically a giant sand trap. And you could tell people have tried to make it work, but we weren't risking it. Like, this is part of what you're driving through if you want to drive all the way down to the beach. We ended up spending 50 cents or 2,000 to park our bikes at the top and just walk down. They say the best things are the hardest to get to. At least this beach try to motivate you to keep going. Some people are actually riding their motorbikes all the way down here. Can't be us, because I don't think we would make it. This is incredibly narrow, sandy, rocky, and there's people going in both directions. So we're just gonna walk for a kilometer.
Plenty of people are brave enough to tackle this drive, so don't let us scare you off. We just run about that life. But if you do make the trek, there's parking just a few steps away from the beach.
But you wanna know what the best thing about these beaches is? It's not the clear water, it's not the lack of people. Instead, it's like the perfect temperature. It's not cold to jump in, it's not hot, so you're not gonna boil. You just walk right out and it's knee high. You get right in the middle of the ocean, right up to these boats. And I feel great. I feel comfortable. I'm not hot, not cold, just comfortable.
As the sun started to dip, we took our last few moments to soak, and then we raced back before it got too dark. One sleep later, and it was time for the next adventure.
So by now you might be wondering, what about Koh Rong Sanloem? Well, that's where we're headed. Or we would be if someone hadn't left something behind in our bungalow. Luckily, he caught a ride back just in time. Also want to know, if you're island hopping, choose where you stay very carefully. Or you might have to fireman's carry all of your luggage through the water like these poor folks did. But with everyone's waterlogged luggage aboard, we made the short hop over to Koh Rong Sanloem.
Can you give her the flip-flops, please?
As you can see, getting from island to island takes a bit of work. Sometimes it's walking your luggage through the waters, other times it's hopping from boat to boat trying to get to the pier.
Thank you.
But we made it to Mai Pai Bay on the north side of the island.
Thank you.
You sure?
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Really, thank you. Can you help? Thank you.
Well, that was an adventure.
Rather do that than walk through the water.
Yeah, true.
From there, it was a short walk to our hostel. Even got a private room for cheap, which cost us $54 total for 3 nights.
So guys, check this out. We were getting sorted in our accommodation here in Mai Pai, and our host was telling us that the name Mai Pai actually means 23. So on the 23rd of each month, they hold like a village celebration where everyone gets together in the village and all the proceeds go back towards maintaining the school, maintaining the village, and all that stuff, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll probably check that out tonight. But also at the moment, I think we need a couple beers. Bailey shake. Ooh.
We took a stroll through the town, but between the heat and my lack of sunscreen, we did not make it far before tapping out. So we circled back to that spot with the pina coladas because, you know, priorities. I grabbed one and found some shade while Tony went for something with watermelon and lime.
Well, you shouldn't expect things to really run like on a tight schedule anywhere in Cambodia, but that also definitely rings true for these islands, especially this one that we're on now. Everything just is very laid back, even more so than Koh Rong. There's like the typical water activities here, scuba, snorkeling, kayaking, getting out on the water, but it is definitely more of a like beach nap, chill vibe. So that's pretty much what we did all of this morning. So we're gonna go grab some lunch.
We hit up Nomads, which was a laid-back little spot owned by a super sweet couple. We kept it pretty simple, fried rice and pad thai. Nothing fancy, just good food. They've got a vegan option if that's your thing, but I went with chicken. Couldn't tell you exactly what we paid, but it was under $5 a plate. That's pretty much all we did today, just chill. Tomorrow though, our hostel's putting together a boat trip with a local captain to hop over to the other side of the island for some sightseeing.
On the way, please sit and stand above. Just not move around because on the side have big wave and then move and the boat move too. So we want to sail together.
What would we do with a drunken sailor? What would we do with a drunken sailor? What would we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning.
So we hopped on a boat tour that is run by our hostel, and we took about a 30-minute sail, I think along the west side of the island, to a beach. It was beautiful. We swam for like an hour, and now we are hiking up to a lighthouse. It's supposed to be about a 40-minute walk up, 30-minute walk down. We're all in wet swimsuits and flip-flops, so should be interesting. I also love things.
The hike led us to an abandoned watchtower sitting on the land of a local farmer, and after a quick chat with our guide and an exchange of a little bit of real, he graciously let us explore. And this watchtower was practically begging us to climb it, so we had to respect its wishes.
So haunted.
It certainly wasn't the sketchiest thing we've ever done, but climbing this rusted out relic still had us questioning a few life choices. Every step creaked, and every railing still intact wobbled. It was one of those moments where you laugh it off, keep going, and just hope for the best. But the view at the top was pretty worthwhile.
Nothing like doing something a little sketch to get the blood pumping. And by the time we made it back to the boat, we were starving. And so we made our way over to our rustic beachfront restaurant, tucked away on the island's more secluded, lazy beach side. We didn't bring a lot of real with us, so we ended up splitting a thing of Khmer chicken curry. And while we rested off our meal, the tide was coming in, and the boat couldn't quite make it back to shore without running aground. So the only way back on board was a good old-fashioned swim.
Boat is peeing.
The boat is peeing. Look out.
I'd love to tell you something dramatic happened next, but nah, we just watched the sunset, ate at a local fisherman's restaurant on the beach, and at this fish fry spot, we had the chicken curry amok, and the chef convinced us to try one of his fish he was grilling up.
It's really good. I just don't want to look at it.
What'd you do to the face?
I had to cover it up.
All right, here are the need-to-knows for visiting these islands. Number 1, do not expect solid cell service. Your signal will be spotty at best, but that's part of the appeal of this destination. Number 2, make sure you don't leave the mainland without taking out plenty of cash. There are no ATMs on Koh Rong, so you'll want to make sure you have enough cash to pay for your accommodations, food, tours, and anything else you might need. And number 3, there are very few tuk-tuks on Koh Rong. The best way to get between beaches is by motorbike or by the long-tail boats that travel from beach to beach. So that's our Cambodian island detour. We've got a lot more coming soon, more rural villages, more food, and more of that chaos that we somehow always stumble into.
Wilson! Wilson!